The football may be over, but the transfer business is about to start. Here is one player I would sign from each and every EFL Championship club. Let me know your picks down there in the comments. With this happening as people are starting to prep for next season, you can almost kind of view it and answer it as prized asset, most likely to leave. Say what you will in the comments and I'll give you my picks now. Let's start with the relegated teams from the Premier League. I will go for Mads Hermansson for Leicester. I want to get a couple of keepers in here. He's had a couple of really good seasons with the Foxes. And this is going to be a theme down this list. When players are young and they're European, that just tends to open up more doors and create more interest in those players being taken and the kind of long-term value of the purchase. I've got down here El Kanous and Fatawu as honourable mentions, but I don't know whether a Premier League team would want to take a chance on Hermansson. Good goalkeeper, good feet, as the modern necessity is as well. For Southampton, I'll go with the ridiculously overvalued Tyler Dibley, and I'm sure that's a bit of a game of brinksmanship by Southampton, valuing him at 100 million quid. He's very good. I'm not sure anyone's going to pay 100 million quid. And it's always a big flag when a player that young comes into the Premier League and kind of looks at home at the level. You've just almost seem to have a ready-made guarantee at a very young age. Just be interesting to see how aggressive Saints can be in terms of negotiating to hold out for the biggest fee possible. Honourable mentions here. Kyle Walker-Peters is seemingly a cheat code at Championship level, the fullback. Taylor Harwood-Bellis is still very young, and yes, he's got relegation on his CV now, but it's that elite player through the system. Aaron Ramsdale, surely someone in the Premier League thinks, well, I'll have him in my squad with his experience there at now Sheffield United, Bournemouth, Arsenal, Southampton. He's got a few relegations on his CV there, hasn't he? Let me know your thoughts. Ipswich is obviously Liam Delap, isn't it? With that release clause, seemingly like half of the Premier League is bidding for Liam Delap, and why not at £30 million? I know it sounds ridiculous to you or I, but it's someone who's just got double figures in the Premier League for a fee that you would expect to be higher. But that's the deal Ipswich had to sign to get him, and it could be a nice deal for somebody else. Obviously, honourable mentions here. O'Shea, Davis, Hutchinson, all, I think, potentially either proving themselves in the Premier League in terms of having the potential to get another go. I know it's a relegation, but you can't look at it as a player being relegated is not good enough to play at the level. It's often the circumstances in the team, perhaps, that they were playing with. Let's have a look at the playoff losers here, and we've seen over the years these teams unfortunately get pillaged. Sheffield United lost in the final, and there's three, isn't there? Sousa, Harmer and Ahmedhodzic. I'll go for Sousa out of the three, so I'll get a defensive midfielder in as one of my picks. He's been brilliant in terms of Championship level. I'm not sure Premier League level, but certainly somewhere. I think he can definitely do a job. And look, maybe that's a bit unfair that he was adjusting in a difficult situation last time he was in the Premier League, but certainly way too good for the Championship, as you would think Harmer and Ahmedhodzic would fall into that bracket as well. Coventry's interesting because they kind of retooled and famously lost Harmer and Gyökeres, who have gone on to raise massive transfer fees and may well both be on the move this summer. I'll go for Milan Van Evik as my pick, but Jack Rudoni came really strong at the end of the season. He's a really good age. How'd you right? There's United States strikers. There's going to be another one ahead of a World Cup in the US. Ben Sheaf, he was kind of the, along with kind of Gyökeres and Harmer last summer, the name mentioned, but bad injury for him, which has maybe taken the bloom off the rose a little bit. Still a very good player, and I'm sure people may well be bidding for him, but I'll go Van Evik. Bristol City, I will go for Jason Knight, and we think Liam Manning's possibly about to move across to Norwich now, but maybe this is an indication of the good job that that Manning did to get Bristol City into the playoffs. There's not really that standout mega star player. You're talking about a very steady midfielder who played all of the games. I've also got written down McNally, Mehmeti and Twine, but I feel that Knight is the one that maybe a parachute team might go, right, stick him straight in, and he's just proven he can play every minute of the season in the harem-scarum, hustle and bustle of the Championship central midfield. These are the sides that just missed the playoffs. Blackburn, I think it's got to be Tyrese Dolan, because I don't know, Blackburn fans will maybe tell me better in the comments about the contract issue, but you might be able to get him for free. I think there's contract wrangling at the moment going on. Dolan seems to have been around for ages, but he's still only 22, 23, 24 sort of age. So you'd think on a free, someone will definitely fancy that. Hayden Carter and Tronstad's a bit older. They're the other two names I kind of liked, maybe, as if you wanted to pinch a Blackburn player. Millwall, this is where we are in English football, have done some very, very good European recruitment. So I've got to go for young Ivanovic, the striker there, who all of a sudden, if he can score 15, 20 goals next season for Millwall, will be worth a load of money, because he's very young, and what's above teams that are kind of battling for the Championship playoffs. It's money teams with other parachute payments of Premier League TV money, isn't it? Casper De Noor, Negley, who's not been there long. But you can see the theme there of how Millwall are now recruiting. So maybe Ivanovic is the jewel in the crown there. West Brom, I've got to go Tom Fellows, who I think still only 21. So he's got the English premium as well. Really nice winger, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, invert either side, whatever you want to do. Loads of assists, and he just would seem to be the highest value asset there. I've got Josh Madger down as well, but I think you might have to overpay for him potentially, and he's a little bit older, and he's never got the massive goals total. I think Grady Diangana's available for free as well, and I know his stock has fallen since the Slaven Bilic promotion with West Brom, but he was brilliant for them, and I'm sure plenty of managers will be going at a free transfer. I'll take the gamble if you can make that contract kind of performance-based. Can he do what he did for Bilic for another Championship manager? Or certainly Europe will be an option for Diangana. Middlesbrough, there's a bit of a sense that Middlesbrough have a good squad that maybe underperformed. So there's players there. Finner Zaz got really, really good numbers, didn't he, off the front? Aidan Morris, again, the United States premium before the World Cup year. I'll go for Hayden Hackney, though, as well. I normally pick him when I do lists like this. English central midfielders come through now, played a lot of games at Championship level. Looks very at home, can handle himself, and I think people will be interested. Swansea, again, I don't know the contract status here. I know Cabango, one of the centre-backs, has signed a new contract. I don't think Darling has yet. So that would be the name for Swansea. Can you get Darling for free if Swans can't get a deal done before the window opens? Again, Swansea fans will know way more than I about that. And then very much like Millwall, my honourable mentions, I've got Franco and Ronaldo down on my list there in terms of players where there might be bigger scope to sell or, to go to a European league. With all of these players, by the way, don't get upset in the comments. I'm sure all fans of all these clubs will want to keep these players. But let's stay calm and not lose our rag and have a tantrum about that. I'm just saying the ones that I would want if you could get them. Sheffield Wednesday, I'll say the same thing here as I said about Liam Manning. When you actually look at the Wednesday squad, you see what a good job Danny Roll did, because there's not massive star power and value in there in terms of a 5 million, 10 million quid player. I'll go for Gassama just purely on how young he is and how he's now... Would he have been there 2 seasons? Yeah, he'd been there 2 seasons, I think, in English football there. But there's Ugbo, there's Bernard, but again, I'm not wanting to maybe take this as a backhanded compliment, Wednesday fans, to Roll. There's not really a player there where you'd say, oh, right, take him and, build a promotion bid around him. So, yeah, read that as you will. Let me know your thoughts, Wednesday fans. Speaking of American strikers in a World Cup year. I'll go for Josh Sargent for Norwich. I think you can flip a coin with him and Borja Sainz. I don't know with Sainz. There was a massive purple patch. He's a brilliant player, isn't he? But with Sargent, I just think, I'm not sure a championship team can get him because Norwich might need 15 million, 20 million, you tell me. And I'm not sure a championship team could pay that, but it's guaranteed goals, isn't it? And, that can get you over the line. There is injury problems as well. I've written down Nunes and Cordoba as well. Norwich always recruit well. And what I was saying about Sheffield Wednesday, are there players you'd pick? There's always players there. At Norwich, for Watford, I'll go for Georgie Chakvetadze. Again, he's been my Watford pick for the most part. Really good fun. Bit of a free spirit, isn't he? I'm not sure you'd want to play next to him in terms of, are you going to get the ball very much because he loves a dribble and he loves a shot, but he's really good fun, and maybe under the right manager and the right system, he could be lethal. Championship level, Imran Loser is still there. I know Watford players maybe suggest that if his talent and his application matched up, he'd be playing at a higher level. Can anyone unlock that? I've put down Edo Kayembe as well. I think he had a purple patch scoring, didn't he? And certainly could do a job elsewhere in the Championship. QPR, I'll go for Jimmy Dunn, who now you could play at right back, you could play at right centre back in a 3, you could play at right centre back in a back 4 as well. He seems to have moved ahead in terms of all the statistical, when you look at the teams of the week and the teams of the season from the data providers, Dunn always shows up really, really well. I've written down Ilias Chair and Sam Field, and that feels like they used to be the names we always used to mention maybe a year, 18 months back. But I don't know whether their stock has fallen slightly and Dunn has gone ahead. And certainly if you're Sheffield United were massively linked, weren't they, in January when they were looking for someone down the right-hand side of their defence. Got Harry Clark on loan in the end. But yeah, you can imagine people very much looking at Dunn. Let's go on to, we got Pompey and Oxford ex-League One teams here. So I'll damn with faint praise here, but their job now is going to be to turn what were League One squads now into real Championship squads. So how much value is there in there? I'm not sure. Obviously, Murphy had a great season for Pompey, but he's been around the block, and I'm not sure you're gonna build your campaign on him if you're further up the table than Pompey. Lang, very good at the start of the season, but bad injury, I think. I'll go for Bishop because there's always a place for a big, bustling centre forward. And wherever Bishop has been in the pyramid, he always produces numbers. And, football's a fairly straightforward game, no matter how we complicate it. And if you've got a big, hard-running centre forward and you play to his strengths, he'll do all right. So let's go Bishop. And it's a great story with his health issues at the start of last season. Oxford is a bit more clear-cut because they do have a youngster who you'd think is quite highly valued in Tyler Goodrum. He's played a hell of a lot of games through League One, and now in the Championship he stepped up as well, fairly sort of versatile. And I think Gary Rowett, particularly at Millwall, was able to build the profile of the likes of Jed Wallace and Zian Fleming, wasn't he? Goodrum and Oxford, you'd hope would be a similar story there. I love Hellick. But I won't have him. And Dembele's an interesting one because he kind of got to the mountain peak there, got the deal at Bournemouth and never really worked in terms of, can you be at a top Championship club and then the Premier League? I don't know. Is there the talent there for someone to take him? Maybe that's what's happening at Oxford right now. Stoke, look, I've already had a keeper. I've had Hermansen, so I won't pick Johansson, who's great. The problem with Stoke as well is often they're pretty chunky transfer fees that they've already spent. So they're going to want a pretty penny to get these players out, aren't they? Manhoef, honourable mention. I'll go for Berger, who's a little bit younger and looks very... is Berger younger than Manhoef? Someone fact check me on that in the comments. I think he is. Could be wrong. But yeah, I think in terms of your durable physicality, and we've been talking about this from an Ipswich Town point of view, you want to go up with players. Look, are they going to be able to handle themselves technically in the Premier League? Probably not if they're playing in the Championship. There's a big jump up. You can get the physicality, and you want to at least bring up the physicality to go against these brilliant Premier League players who all seem to be 6'2" and physical and brilliant technically as well. So I'll go for Berger for Stoke, who maybe has that potential. Derby County. Look, Zetterstrom has been good fun in goal, but again, I've already had a keeper. Could mine started the season really well? Has he stepped up and been, a massive value player? Not totally certain. So I'll go for Langas, who I think did come in January. And I know he had an injury as well, but that looked like, okay, here they come in terms of, investing in players from Europe. Obviously, would that have been the cash-in kind of deal, replacement type situation there? So I'll go for Langas, who could be a big player. And look, playing under John Eustace, who's a very savvy defensive setup manager, you could be looking at a pretty expensive player at the end of the season if Derby continue on the same trajectory, that they have done under Eustace. Preston, difficult. Sorry, Preston fans. I don't know whether the days of Hugill going for big money out of Preston, there must have been others, mustn't there? Hugill seems to, that must be the transfer record, mustn't it? Look, Emil Rees is available on a free, and I wondered whether that might be the next Hugill when he signed, but his contract has run down. Does look like Preston are kind of just okay to let him go, but I'm sure another Championship club would say, English football, good big physical striker, decent age. Honourable mentions, Frokier, flattered to deceive. Is there something there? I don't know, looks technically good. Top level, I don't know, you tell me. White Man is the captain, and yeah, that would be one where look at, what's his name, Laurent for Burnley, where you're like, oh, okay, this guy knows the league, and is he your sexy zillion pound signing at Burnley? No, but he played a lot of football for them in a team that scored 100 points last season. So maybe, these signings like White Man are a bit underrated. I'll go for Rees though, because you can get him on a free. Hull, I will say exactly the same thing I said about Stoke and maybe about Middlesbrough, that they pay big transfer fees, don't they, Hull, Mr. Ilachali? I kind of checked out the amount that had been spent on, say, Kamara, who's not on my list. Giles, I know he's never been as good at Championship level as he was at Middlesbrough. Miller, he had an injury though, didn't he? He always seems to light it up off the bench whenever I see him. Balumi as well. But all of those players came in for big fees. So I will go for Hughes, who did he score that header against? Towering header for Hull. Someone will tell me in the comments. It's a late winner, wasn't it? Who was that against? End of the season. Too much football going round my brain. I need a holiday. I'll take one. Don't worry. But Hughes is only 21, but they spent big money on him as well. Let's move on to the promoted three. And look, of course, the face of Birmingham is Stansfield, but there is pretty much zero chance you're going to get him out of Birmingham, given that they're not under kind of 3-year PSR rules in terms, I suppose there's 1 year of it, isn't there, in terms of Championship, but they've got that bounce, they've got more money than God, those owners, haven't they? I always liked Bielik, but again, the days of him, what was he like, 8 million for Darby when he was in his early 20s. Laird as well, I've always liked in terms of a young player coming through at a big club, but he's been allowed to drop down to League One level. So I'll go for Clara, who, again, pretty penny that Birmingham would have paid, but he looks completely ready to go, and they've exploited the kind of European, Scandinavian market really well. Birmingham, but let's be honest, with Birmingham and probably Wrexham, it's not players going out we're going to be looking at, because we're expecting them to bring a lot of players in. Speaking of Wrexham, I'll take Sam Parkin's advice. He was very impressed with Sam Smith when he saw Wrexham promoted. Who did they beat? I think they beat Charlton, didn't they? Who we're going to talk about in a second. But I'll go for Max Cleworth, because he's like one player who's come up the level with them. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he was with Wrexham in the National League as well, and he played a hell of a lot of football, scored a lot of goals as well for Wrexham last season. And we know that if Wrexham continue to play the style that they've played under Parkinson, the defenders are going to get really good numbers, because they'll be happy to sit and they'll have a little bit of a screen in front of them and they'll be able to do a lot of defending, which looks great on the data, doesn't it? So if they can do the same and have a decent season at Championship level, then Cleworth, who I think is only 22, 23 sort of age, could be worth a bit of money. Finally, our newest members of the Championship are Charlton Athletic. Welcome back, and welcome back Nathan Jones, who's always good fun. I'm not massively knowledgeable. Connor Coventry showed up well. I remember when I was working on the EFL show a couple of years ago, Leeburn and Campbell were the big name kind of youngsters there. Leeburn particularly in terms of following in his father's footsteps. However, they've been allowed to stay in League One, so it's maybe not them. So I'll go for Sam's pick again on the Championship check-in. Thierry Small, who seems to be a bit flamboyant and a bit of a difference maker. He's played a lot of football and he's only 20 years old. And I think he might have come through at an elite academy as well. And I think a lot of kind of recruitment looks at that, don't they? Look at the grounding, look at the lessons he is going to have learned. Where was he? Everton? Southampton? Can't remember. Forgive me if I'm wrong about that. A lot of names, a lot of players here, but I'll go for Small. Right, let me know your thoughts in the comments. That's kind of an early kind of primer for the transfer sort of content that we are going to do. You'd expect those names to pop up. And as I say to my 3-year-old when she throws a tantrum, let's not get cross. Let's not get angry. It's just a kind of fun conversation starter as to high-value assets. And, fans of football teams on the internet, they get so triggered when you say, that'd be a good player to sign from you. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. Just keep calm. It's all right, guys. Just a bit of fun on the internet. Try and do the same. And why don't you let me know? Who is your highest value player at your club? Of course, you don't want them to go, but who would you sign from your club? Maybe that's a good way to start it. And particularly, who would you like to take from somebody else's club? Get involved down there in the comments. We will link up the video from yesterday, which was a look at some managerial manoeuvring with Will Still in at Southampton. Russ Martin looking close at Leicester and Liam Manning looking close at Norwich. Go and get your views on that and let me know one player you would like to sign from each and every EFL Championship club. This transfer window, it opens very soon.